Hi guys, it's Lynn again. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, my name's Lynn. I am an overseas student from Vietnam who have the privilege to live in the UK for the last 10 years. I did a pharmacy degree and I've completed my master in pharmacy and now practicing as the pharmacist in the UK. I'm using this channel to share all the experience, all the lessons that I've learned. If you come to as an overseas like me, you can learn from the experience that I've gone through and hopefully you'll find them useful. And in this video today, I would like to share with you guys one of the great news that I have this year, which is this status, which is the status that all of the overseas students like myself, I guess, or the people who would like to live and work in the UK would like to pursue, which is the indefinite leave to remain. Indefinite leave to remain is so explanatory in their name. That's when you are given the status to live in the UK freely. You no longer have to extend the visa. I know whenever time when we talk about the visa thing is always so stressful because there's so much paperwork that you have to plan. I think for myself, I was always worried that I would get deported out of the UK, and that's how I would have to start my life from the beginning. I no longer have to worry about that. I have the ability to live here in the UK or go back to Vietnam whenever I want to without the worry that I would not have the option to ever come back here. So you might be asking, what is that status? Why it's so important? Why did I devote it to pursue 10 years of my life for this status? There was no way that I would have where I am today, to have a house at 28, to have a good job, to live independently if I were living in Vietnam. There's no way I would have the lifestyle that I have here. That's the reason why it's so valuable. That is the reason why so many people, it doesn't matter how hard, it doesn't matter how expensive it is to gain that status, people still pursuing that because it can guarantee you it's definitely worth it. Get where I am now, I had come a long way, and I would value the status. I would not take it for granted. If you have watched my previous video about the transition from full-time pharmacist to become a sole employed pharmacist, and I would not have the ability to become so employed should I still have a tier 2 visa, which is a visa that all of the international students would have to obtain in order to work in the UK. Let's go back to the beginning. In order to obtain that visa, people like myself would have to go to a tremendous process, and because there are a limited amount of jobs that's available for overseas students, in order to get a job you would have to go to a remote area or into the area where there's a less competitive, then the sponsor will be willing to pay for that. I understand that to be an employer, to be a sponsor, to sponsor people from overseas, there are tremendous costs and complications associated with it. It's not straightforward as an interview process that you can just employ anybody. They would have to register with Home Office, they would have to pay a fee in order to sponsor somebody to work for the companies. And again, at the end of the day, everything is a business. They would rather employ home student than overseas student. But for those that manage to get a job in a competitive area, they would have to work really hard. And I've heard a lot of stories when their employers or their boss are exploit those that from overseas because they know, the employer knows that if you want to work here, you have to obey my rule. If you want to work here, I'm your sponsor. Your visa depended on me, so I'm gonna exploit it as much as you can. And yes, I've heard a lot of story, friends who had gone through the same thing, and luckily for me, I was working for the NHS. There's not such thing as a case of getting exploited by your employer, by your boss. People who work in a normal job or for people who work in a community pharmacy, I have heard it many times that the working condition that they have to go through is really tough. And I guess because how tough it is, people value it more because people know that that's the price that they're willing to pay for in order to obtain this status, in order to obtain the visa, the opportunity to work in this country where your hard work is paid off and you don't have to rely on anybody. There's no such thing as corruption system. So in order to obtain the indefinite leave to remain status, there's several steps that you can pursue. There's many routes, and if you want to consult a solicitor, again, this video is just for my experience. I'm not here to give you immigration advice. These are just for my experience. Should you need to know further, please get in touch with a local solicitor who knows about all the changes. I think since I've obtained this status, there's already a lot of changes have been done by the Home Office to tighten the rule for people to obtain this status. So always consult a solicitor before you submit your application. Probably aware that the expensive fee associated with the application, so make sure you research, make sure you get appropriate advice from the solicitor before you submit the application. From the journey, the route that I've gone through, I managed to obtain my indefinite leave to remain using the long residency. So for people who have long residency, are those that manage to work to live lawfully in the UK for 10 years. The transition from an overseas student, I did my college degree, I did my university degree as a tier 4 visa, then I moved to a tier 2 visa to work as a pharmacist. I guess 10 years is enough time for the Home Office to test somebody's character and to know that I am a law-abiding citizen and I've been working and contributing myself to the society, creating value to society, for them to know that I am trustworthy enough to grant me that status, which I am really grateful, and I would make sure that I am working hard to pay back the opportunity that they have given me. I'm not going to too much details into the steps of the applications, and I get it's all self-explanatory, but if you want me to go over my application in more details, let me know in the comment below. In this video, it's just a summary of the steps that I've been planning for the last 10 years in order to obtain this status. So when I came over here, I was 17, could hardly speak any English. I know in order to stay here, I need to perform really well in my English test, which is an IELTS test that you have, and then you have to perform very well during 2 years at college and then apply to university. And I always wanted to be a pharmacist. I've always worked in healthcare and supporting people, and unfortunately I'm scared of blood, so I know that becoming a doctor is not for me. So I thought would be the closest thing that I could do. Next is a pharmacy, so I can learn all the mechanism behind it, and I can also support the journey to be a patient recovering or to optimize their treatment plan. So that was my goal. Ultimate goal is to obtain the stated indefinite leave to remain status, but I had to break down into different journey at different steps in order to stay here lawfully in the UK. It's really costly because you whether work, and in order to find work you have to have the experience, you have to have the degree, because you are already at disadvantage because you have to be really good as you are competing with home student. For me, I know the only way that I compete with people is that I have tremendous work ethic to get as much experience as possible, to get the best grade that I could possibly get with the strength and weakness that I have, with the limited English that I have, knowing that in order to get a good grade I need to select the subjects. So going back to the beginning, how did I choose my degree? Understanding that what is my strengths and weaknesses, understanding that I am really good at science, so the limited amount of written English that are required will put me at advantage compared to other students. So I would then selected the subjects that will require less written English and also I'm really good at, so that I can get the best grade that I have. What I guess for me is knowing what is my ultimate goal and trying to reverse engineer it and plan it well. That's how I did choose my job, choose the degrees, which I chose pharmacy because that's what I wanted, but also it will help me use my strengths and eliminate my weaknesses, because if I would choose a degree like marketing or business or law, I would have to write a lot of essays, and knowing that written English is not my strong point and it would take me much longer to provide an essay. I know that I need to factor there's limited amount of time and energy is available, and in the meantime I also need to work apply for a part-time job because I need to fund for my tuition fee and the fee of living in the UK too, and I know that there's no way that I can balance both, so I chose pharmacy so that I don't have to write a lot of essay. And luckily at Bradford University we had a lot of OSCE, which is oral examination, and a lot of multiple choice exams, which have mainly just based on learning all the mechanism and applying the knowledge that I've got, I guess memorizing it, which again much easier compared to doing a degree that I have to jump essay like 10 to 15,000 words. The second planning that you probably had to make is that you have to choose a degree. If you come over here and you would like to work here, in order to obtain the visa to work in the UK, you whether have a job that would pay you minimum salary that you need to earn in order to gain the tier 2 visa, unless you apply for a job where there is a shortage of workers such as nurses or doctors or chef. You want to look into it further. If you are choosing your degree, then do your own research. There's a list of occupations that are available on Home Office website that you don't have to meet the minimum salary. When I was applying for my first tier 2 visa, it was £30,000. If your ultimate goal is to live and work in the UK and you choose a degree that already saturated in UK and that's already had a lot of home students that are applying for it, your chance of securing a job at the end will be very slim. So make sure you plan it strategically and take all of these factors into consideration. During the last 10 years of me working and living in UK, I need to make sure that I live lawfully, to make sure that you renew your visa at the time before your visa expired. So during my time here, I've also need to make sure that I do not spend a lot of time abroad. I think the requirement in order to apply for indefinite leave to remain in the UK is that I haven't spent more than 6 months in one period in another country outside the UK, or in the last 10 years I should not spend more than 10 months in total for the last 10 years, and that's a requirement that the Home Office had. So if you are going abroad, if you go on holiday, make sure you take all of this into consideration. So what's next for me? I guess I have the option, once I obtain the indefinite leave to remain in the UK status, I can apply to become neutralized, and by then you can apply to have the British passports. I can become dual citizenship. Again, the rule will still be applied. I need to make sure that obviously I cannot commit any crime. I have no intention to do that. Still gonna be living as a law-abiding citizen, work really hard, contributing to the society. I was hoping to go home to see my family after COVID, but I'm postponing that for now because I'm not allowed to spend too long outside the UK. But again, right now I'm enjoying the freedom to become self-employed, to work as a locum pharmacist, which I didn't have that privilege before. When I was working under tier 2 visa, I was only allowed to work as one sponsor only. I guess right now I'm just milking the freedom that I have. I enjoy having the time off. I no longer have to ask for permission to take time off. That's all for me, and thank you very much for listening. I guess the video today was just for me to share with you guys the good news that I have, that I managed to obtain this freedom to no longer have to be tied into one place. And I guess it really fit my personality. As an adventurer, I love to expand and explore many things. If you are going through the same journey, if you are at the beginning of your 5 years or 10 years, the step of obtaining the long residency status of living in the UK, I hope this video will motivate you. I can guarantee you it will be worth it at the end if you just break down the goal into individual chapter and follow it every 3 to 5 years, revise over the goal that you've set. 10 years might seem a long time, but it will happen before you know it, and you just need to be patient and trust the process and trust that you're making the right sacrifice, and that today when you obtain that freedom will be here before you know it. And I wish you all the best of luck. Plan your time in the UK wisely so that at the end of the day you will grab the fruit of your labor and you will feel so fulfilled as much as I am right now. And if you are new to my channel, please subscribe. In here I will be sharing with you all the experience that I have during my time of living in the UK, of settling my life in the UK as an overseas student, and I'm making my dream become true. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you find it useful. If you just learn one thing from my video, please like and subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to see you again in the next video. Take care and goodbye.